purpose of the mastermind is to learn leadership, build teams, and create multiple sources of income together.
We are here to inspire and challenge each other to reach and exceed goals.
Each member is committed to their own success, as well as the success of every member of the group.
We are committed to meeting in person or virtually for 1 hour every week.
We are present. There is no multitasking or distractions during meetings.
We are collaborative. We listen without interrupting, lecturing, or judging.
We celebrate each other's successes without jealousy.
We are honest and participate by giving thoughtful feedback.
We are open and listen to different perspectives without being defensive or offering excuses.
We trust fellow members enough to share fully.
We are focused, but we also think it's important to have fun during meetings.
We are real and authentic. This is a no BS zone.
We allow ourselves to become completely aligned with each other and the high forces. One mind, one soul, one love.
Says Barry White.
Goldman International is a conscious, aware, and engaged global community of abundance and freedom creators.
Our mission is to create 1 million millionaires who are free from the time for money paradigm. We focus on creating multiple streams of income through masterminding, team building, and the effective utilization of internet-based platforms.
Mastermind becomes an opportunity for self-mastery, where the self-transcendence shift from the me to the we to the us occurs. As congruence and engagement increases, the world's consciousness is then raised one meaningful and inspired relationship at a time.
Beautiful. Thanks everybody for setting the foundation of the call, especially for Tony there. I think Fiona got lost in a bit of Tony's love then with, when he was reading that principle. So for those of you who are aware, chapter 12, it's a big one because you also have the bit where they just review back over the book. But I'm also, even though I'm not coming from the place of saying, thank God it's over. I'm coming from the place of, wow, I'm really excited for what we're going to be moving on to next. So we'll keep to the numbers. We'll go through with, we've got a few of us on, so let's aim to keep it just under 2 minutes. I'll get my timer and 2 minutes. Yeah. So share what you got from chapter 12 and how you feel that it can represent in your life, or how you can certainly move forward with it. Ricky, and you're on mute again, champ.
Alrighty, so I've been a wee bit all over the place on Outwitting the Devil this last couple of months that we've been covering this. Some bits I've done, some bits I've not, some bits I've skimmed over, and some bits I've spent a wee bit of time listening properly and taking some notes. So what I did say to Sharna when she was leaving the printer was, I really need to get a hard copy of this book, a proper hard copy. It's one thing listening to it on audio, but I like, as some of us probably do, a hard copy where you can go through it with your highlighter pen and read it and highlight and take notes. And it's something I need to do, because I realise that, and one of the notes I made to myself was, you will periodically be sucked back into drifting throughout your life. Try to avoid this by being determined to fulfill your definiteness of purpose. And I think that impacts on all of us. That was just a summary, but that probably impacts on all of us. We'd all like to think that we have got this definiteness of purpose, and at all times we are straight and narrow, and we're on course, and there's no deviation. But in reality, that's not real life. Real life is that every year, every month, every week, every day, probably every minute, every hour of every day, we get sidetracked, and it's just how it is. And so it's really being consciously aware of that, and enabling yourself to try and manage what's going on in your life, and pull back a wee bit to try and realize what you're not doing and that you should be, as in your success habits, or what you are doing that you shouldn't be. So I think in summary for me, as I've just said at the beginning, it's one thing skimming through this, but this is too valuable to skim through. I need to get the hard copy book. It doesn't matter what it costs, whether it's $50, $100, it doesn't really matter. It's one of these things. It's like your Bible at the side of your bed, you know. It's going to be with you, for me anyway, for pretty much the rest of my life. So that's what I need to do. Thank you.
Cool, mate. Thank you.
Okay, this was a really good chapter with perfect timing for me. This book was great. I've listened to it once, but I'm more visual, so I enjoy audiobooks, but I need to see the words for it to set in my brain. So I actually have the book loaded in my iPad here. But for me, as I am prone to drifting, and I know that, and I'm extremely aware of it, what I really got out of this chapter is that drifting is actually a negative state of mind. So now when I catch myself drifting, I do just kind of a sound check on my brain, you know, where's my thinking at? And, you know, turn any negative around, just get a grip on it and start working it. So that's worked for me. Also the bit on wisdom was very interesting to me as well, because, you know, we assume that as we get older, we gain wisdom through life, and that's not always the case. And that the one quote line that I liked was that wisdom is acquired by adversity and failure, where we, you know, when we work with nature's laws. So for me, that was very useful. It came at as often when I open this book, it does, came at a time where I was starting to drift a little bit, needed to be reeled in. And this just set a lot of things in place, but most importantly, how absolutely imperative it is to have a positive thinking going on, because otherwise you're just, you're set up for failure. Definite of purpose linked with the positive thinking. And it's difficult. My environment here in my home is not always positive. I do what I can. And that's that. All righty, on to the next one.
Great show, Karen. Thank you. Just unmute yourself, Russ.
That was excellent, Karen. And I'm going to echo that a bit. This chapter was really rich for me. There was a lot of things, but some things stood out more than others. And the big takeaway for me was I've been very sensitive the last few years to the impact of time on my life, sensitive about time, you know, how fast life goes, how I'm present to that every year, you know, how it seems to go faster and faster. And I've often questioned whether I've become wiser or not. You know, wisdom is something I've never thought about acquiring. And yet what put this in perspective for me was, I thought it was very interesting that when he was asked the ideal age for wisdom, he said, usually from 40 on, which I thought, oh, thank God, you know, at least I got that going for me. So, but I think also, like you, Karen, the part that I picked up on was the place that adversity and failure have in wisdom. Like, I've noticed so much about my life in the past that hasn't worked. And I have always said, you know, almost like a mantra, like, I hope I learned from that. But the truth is I have learned from it. And I can appreciate my failures and the adversity that I've faced that's carved me into what I am today, which is not an old wise man, but I'm a lot wiser than I was at 40. Another thing that I think is important that I picked up, and I'm going to paraphrase what was said, but he said that knowledge isn't really anything, you know, by itself. I mean, at least that was what I interpreted. And he also said that time seasons knowledge. Now, he didn't use that word, that's my interpretation, but it's like the impact that time has on knowledge is that when it's combined with knowledge, it seasons the knowledge that you have. It deepens it. It makes it more usable. And I think that's the formula that he had for wisdom that I wrote down was time plus desire for something equals wisdom. And for me, those were my biggest takeaways, even though there were others. I think if I was to pick something out to say that really it both affirmed what I already knew, but it also brought something to my attention that I haven't thought about and don't think about enough. So that's what I have to say about that.
Yeah, powerful.
Lauren,
Thanks
just in
for
time for-
sharing there, Russ. Certainly around time. Great to have you with us, George. We, just so you're clear, we are actually just giving 2 minutes on chapter 12 of Outwitting the Devil as a bit of a review around the group. So at the end, after Melanie, you can go if you like and share.
Well, it's a good thing I studied it in my own group because I didn't know we were doing that. So, but anyway, it's good to be here. Hello, everybody. Sorry for being late. I wanted to hop.
It's all right. We can. You've got your video on, so we can see you doing burpees in the background for being late. So.
Okay, I'll do them. All right, I'll let you guys get back to it. Don't want to be an interruption.
Oh, good, mate. No worries. Thanks, mate. So,
okay.
Yeah, powerful chapter. There's a lot that was coming up for me. Certainly around nature, and the big one that came up was how nature, she'll fill the void that we have, which really made me think a lot about one, how big is the whole thing? So how much do I have to fill with positivity to avoid negativity coming in, which can never be avoided in all fairness. So there's no point worrying about trying to get rid of the negativity, because then when I'm worried about it and I bring in fear, then all of a sudden there's the negativity. So when I was going through this, I'm like, wow, this is so powerful, because then it allows the power of thought to be coming in, and the way then she had mentioned, or certainly the devil had mentioned, about the importance of the people around you. So I've just got so many notes, but one of them that I've got here was nature is not interested in morals as such. She is not interested in right and wrong. She is not interested in justice and injustice. She is interested only in forcing everything to express action according to its nature. And it was the developed sources of knowledge are limited by human beings. Every normal adult human brain is potential gateway to all the knowledge there is throughout the universe. Every normal adult brain has within its mechanism the possibility of direct communication with infinite intelligence, wherein exists all the knowledge that is or can ever be. And I'm just sat there going, wow, we can tap into anything we choose to. And it's only through the power of thought that we're able to then decide and take the action towards that. So I was just blown away with how much I was getting, especially when I reflected back on my life and certain times, and definitely in regards to when I was going through my challenges with regards to all the depression and stuff. I spent a lot of time focusing on the positivity and doing the positive quotes and affirmations and stuff, yet there was still room for the negativity, and that had hold of me for so long. And there was a fear, unknowingly, there was a fear there that the negativity was going to pull me right down again. So hearing that a lot just today certainly cemented a lot for me in regards to there's always going to be space. And if I don't fill it with something that I desire, it's going to be filled with what needs to be, what's going to be there to make it the opposite, because the law is obviously polar opposite. So that's me. It was number 5.
Me. Thanks, guys, taking everything that I was going to say. So yeah, Karen was excellent, and then Russ went and stole the words right. I just highlighted what you were talking about there, Russ.
Yeah, top that, Tony.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Okay. So I'll pick on something else, just to keep the conversation flowing along. Interesting one I thought was this, talking about your choice of associates, people that you hang out with. And here I am with this amazing bunch of people, and learning and having my thoughts stimulated and my beliefs challenged. And, you know, it's just being involved with this mastermind group has really brought that home to me. Just how much having the right people around to challenge your thinking, and so, you know, where Russ was saying that wisdom doesn't just come to you, you have to actually put some effort into the thinking to acquire it as well. Yes, and you can certainly make lots of mistakes, but you can keep on making the same mistakes until the universe slaps you in the face and eventually you learn the lesson. But I've made that mistake in the past where I've hung out with a few people that I probably shouldn't have done. You know, one case I can think of, somebody that was a friend for 20 years, and I made the decision, a conscious decision, that this person's values did not fit mine at all. And once I had made that decision, I'm thinking, how could you have not seen that earlier? And it was because I was looking for the good in that person. I saw the potential of the good in them, but they weren't realizing it. And I suddenly realized that I could not continue on waiting for them to become the person I knew that they could be if they put their mind to it. And that was a really powerful lesson for me. So just reflecting on that, it's not to say, you've got to be careful in the wording of some of these things. I'll read you the exact quote. The person who exercises due caution in the choice of associates never allows himself to be closely associated with any person who does not bring to him through the association some definite mental, spiritual, or economic benefit. And that doesn't mean that if your mates are not making money for you, then, you know, discard them. It doesn't mean if they're not the sharpest tool in the drawer that you should discard them. It doesn't mean if they're sort of spiritually unawakened yet that you should necessarily discard them. It's saying, be careful about, if you want to create, and in the context of the book, if you want to create the kind of life that you're looking to create for yourself, actually think also about who you want to put the majority of your time into and who you want to be around, because those people will influence you. You know, there's that old, I can't remember who said it, there's that old expression about you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Well, if you choose to hang out with ratbags and reprobates, you know, and Liverpool fans, you're going to end up, sorry, Martin had to get that dig in. You know, you're going to end up going down that path, aren't you? But if you hang out with people like in this situation, who challenge your thinking, who make you think and reflect about what's important in life and where you're heading and what are your values and why is that important and how can you be a positive influence and a force for good in your community, that's very powerful, I think. So choice of people is the one I'll pick. There you go.
I've just reported you, Tony, to Zoom. And because George, Russ, and Ricky laughed, all 3 of you were reported as well. Next offence, you'll be removed. Okay, Fiona.
Okay. Love your shirt, by the way, Martin. Can you hear me?
Yeah, thank you.
So one of the things that I had highlighted, which Tony just so beautifully said, was that the most important influence is that created by association with others. So definitely Tony was right on the money there, and I won't expand on that because he did such a good job. The other thing for me that really, really jumped out was about victim mentality. So I'm the sort of person who, it's like, don't sit there whinging in your, you know, pile of poo when you've got the ability to do something about it. And as we've now learned, we've all got the ability to do something about it because we have the power of our mind. So, yeah, that really, really spoke to me. And the other thing was about stopping fear and implanting faith, which I think, like this book could have been written for this time. You know, obviously the fear thing that's going on down in Victoria at the moment is just, you know, it's just disgusting. It's like the government is deliberately instilling fear and stopping faith, which I don't know how that's going to end. But yeah, I like you. I was quite not thankful that we finished, but it will be lovely to move on to something else. The devil can piss off. Actually, the devil's been trying to really wreck my my quarantine lately. So just deleting my programs on my computer and my mouse dying, and yeah. So piss off, devil. I'm done.
That's great, Fiona.
That is actually brilliant. Thank you, Fiona. Yeah. And it's funny, just sorry to interrupt there, but it's funny how I was saying to Beth this morning, you should hear when Russ speaks about the devil. He lights up. He's just so enthusiastic about the devil. And then we're on this call and Fiona's like, the devil can piss off. I've had enough. Brilliant. Cheryl, I know you've not listened to it yet, but is there anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, sorry, I'm actually driving at the moment and the kids are in the background, but I need to catch up on a few things. I'm going to hold my hands up and say that I've allowed myself to drift quite dramatically the last few weeks. Just for having a kind of a personal obstacle, and I've allowed it to kind of succumb me and overtake anything else. Unfortunately, it's been in the back of my mind every day, so I've not really been in the right space or the right frame of mind to kind of jump onto the masterminds, unfortunately. So I have kind of been MIA this last couple of weeks, but I need to get myself back on track. I need to get back into taking part in these and obviously listening in to the recordings as well and try and catch up on that one, because I'm conscious that if I let it go on any longer, it might just turn nasty. So I need to catch up and get my thoughts back again and get back on track. So that's where I'm at just now.
Well, good, Cheryl. Well, it's fantastic to have you with us, and I think Ricky mentioned earlier on around we're all going to go through that circle of life where we're just drifting at times and so on. But the key is being aware of it. We can only stop it if we're aware of it. So.
Yeah, I'm very much aware, and I very much know that I need to just get on with it. And so.
Well, I've seen from afar, I don't know if anybody else has, because I follow Cheryl, not from a stalking angle, but I follow Cheryl online. And you seem to be doing a lot anyway in regards to doing your Insta stories and stuff. So you certainly don't seem to be drifting, as in not doing what you want to do, what we all can do.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to juggle things, but I've just got I've allowed a little bit of negativity to get in there, and I just need to push that aside again and just get on with it. So.
Fantastic. Well, great to have you with us, Cheryl. You'll definitely be picking up from the energy if that's all that that is received this morning.
Yeah, thank you.
Melanie.
Hey, I didn't read the last chapter because I just jumped into the mastermind a few weeks ago and just decided it was probably a bit late to jump in. So just took the option just to start afresh when we do something new. So I don't have a huge amount to say. I'm a bit like Cheryl. I've had quite a lot of medical appointments over the last few weeks, and then a couple of birthdays, mine and my husband's, and some time off for that. So yeah, just getting back into a bit more kind of discipline and being back in the office more regularly as well. So yeah, not a huge amount to say really, so I won't ramble on. I did, since what Fiona was saying, and Tony was saying about who you hang out with, I had to let a friendship go last week after being let down big time from a business perspective, and the person not delivering on the agreements that they'd promised, and everything just started to go pear-shaped, and the alarm bells had been there for like some time, and my husband was saying, just let it go, just move on, just let the friendship go, let the business agreement go. And I kept pushing through, going, no, it'll work out, like, I'm sure this person will kind of get through what they're going through and they'll deliver the agreement to me, and it will be fine. And then it just all came to a head last week, and my inner voice was telling me sooner to listen, and I just ignored it. So yeah, take note of myself, maybe take note of my husband more too. That was
how
tough.
do you feel since you've let go of it, Melanie?
I feel really sad, actually. This person's new to where I live, and I've really helped them settle in and do like an awful lot for them. And yeah, I feel really sad they've gone back on a lot of what they've said in terms of us working together and lifting each other up, and how you grow and develop by empowering and lifting and supporting others, which is what they came to me with the initial agreement to work together for. And then they just changed their mind on everything because I'm too organized for them to work with me. That's their words, they work in a completely different way to I do. As some of you know, I ask a lot of questions, I want the information, and I was too organized and too full on for this person to deal with, who's very scattered and all over the place. So I feel sad that I've lost a potentially good business arrangement, and I've lost potentially good friendship as well. That was, pretty tough to let it go. It was, my husband is just one just to move on, just like it's no big deal, just let it go. It's the best thing to happen. But for me, I'm quite sad about it.
Thanks for sharing.
Can I just add something to that, Martin? Because I mentioned when I was talking about that topic of giving up on a friendship, that it was a 20-year relationship in one case that I let go. And it's interesting that you feel, well, I certainly felt a certain amount of guilt or, sadness about letting that friendship go. Yet when I listened to my own instinct, to my gut and to my own heart, I knew that it was the right thing to do, because you can only give somebody so many chances to become the person that you know that they can become. But if their values actually conflict with your own, then there comes a point where you have to go, even though this is painful, and even though I feel bad, in a way I feel I'm letting down my own values because I'm discarding a friendship and not being there for the person. But ultimately you have to be there for yourself and for the other people that you hang out with. So you actually have to override that sadness, or that perhaps a sense of guilt that you feel for letting somebody go, because otherwise they will pull you down with them. And that it's a bit like, having the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other. You get that sense that if I just continue to hang out with this person and tolerate these flaws in character, essentially they were, as a dishonesty and the way that they treated other people, I could not. And I remember asking myself the question: if I was to talk to my father about this and tell him the stories of what I've learned about this person now, what would his reaction be? And he would have said, "What the hell are you doing hanging out with this person?" And that was actually the voice in my own head that I got, that, I'd had a conversation with my father about it. And so there's the voice of authority, if you like, of going back to your childhood and going back to what are your values that have been instilled into you from an early age. Those are your kind of reference points to go and stay on the straight and narrow. So just that might be of benefit to somebody.
Like Simba and Mufasa. Go on, Karen.
Tony and Melanie, I had a similar situation happen to me in the last couple of months here. It was a 20+ year friendship. And like you said, Tony, boy, you hit the nail so on the head. I kept waiting for this friend to live up to the potential that I knew what was in her. But then, yes, dishonesty and whatnot came in. And finally, for my own sake, I'm just like, I've been shaking the tree out, because my friends and family tend to call me a freak magnet because of the people that I draw to me. My father-in-law started that term years ago. He goes, "You really are quite the freak magnet, honey." And I'm like, I know. So I've been kind of shaking the tree and unloading parasitic freaks, if you will. So anyway, So I did have to let this go, and I was saddened by it because we were close. We had been through a lot together, ups and downs, 20 something years. But Melanie, what I guess I want to tell you is once the dust settles, in hindsight, always 2020, you'll see that this was a good decision for you, and you'll see it probably closer from your husband's perspective. Because I was very hurt and in turmoil and whatnot over it. But then as things settled and I looked over, I'm like, well, I was carrying that load for damn near 20 years myself. And it's like, did I really lose much? And I felt guilt, like you said, Tony, because I'm not a person to dispose of people nonchalantly. And I felt guilt, I felt sorrow, but then I felt a lightness, like a burden and a weight were lifted. And I'm like, okay. And then going with the universal law of nature hates a vacuum, somebody else came into my life that is a true friend, that is somebody that I can work with and whatnot. So, this too shall pass, I guess, is the moral of the story. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Karen.
Goodness.
Yeah, it's interesting from my own experience. I've found that, and for you, Karen, to hear you say that, I think that it isn't that you are a freak magnet, or I mean, I know that was said in jest, but I know that there's people, and I'm one of them, that are compassionate, and sometimes we're a lot more tolerant of the way people are, their flaws, and I think that's sometimes why we stay in a relationship where we give a lot of room for people to be human and to have faults, and yet we still see their value. But at some point, that can become, and I like to look at it this way, it's just my way of looking at it, but it's like a toxicity. People can become toxic. And just like if you become toxic because you tolerate something for your body, then it's time to shift that, because that will kill you, or it will make you sick. And I think it's really a similar type of thing with relationships. Like there's a time when certain relationships, if we tolerate them, they can become toxic. And the only way to address that is to distance yourself from the toxicity, like you would if you were sick. And that's just my way of looking at it. But that's been a pattern throughout my life, where I've had to say, on the one hand, I don't want to be a mean guy, and I'm a nice guy and I'm compassionate. But sometimes it's like, this is toxic. This doesn't work anymore. It doesn't contribute to me. It doesn't make a difference for them. So what's the point? And I just thought I'd throw that out.
Yeah. Thank you for each of your shares there. And I believe we've all got something from that, not just Melanie. But George, yourself, anything coming up in regards to just a quick overview within 2 minutes of chapter 12, or what's been shared?
Yes. Well, I don't know what you guys talked about, most of you anyway, so I guess I'll just have free reign here. The one thing that stood out for me as everybody's talking about this, and first of all, I think this book should be read by people at least once every 6 months, because this book really puts life into perspective. Mm-hmm. But it was with relatives, and again, I had the same experiences, I don't know. I think we all have in the last little while, maybe because we're growing, I don't know. And people just fall off, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyway, when it came to relatives, the devil said, no human owes any degree of duty which robs himself or herself of thought patterns in a positive environment. A person's duty bound to themselves. Because just like in an airplane, if we as humans decide to put that oxygen mask on the other person first, we die. We can't help the next person anyway, because we're not taking care of ourselves. So it's a hard one, a hard nut to follow, because I'm kind of like a lot of you guys. I like to give people lots of chances too. But in the end, you know what? I've always been betrayed. in the end, because it's an unfair exchange of energies, if one will say it like that. That's the first part I wanted to talk about. But the other part I wanted to talk about was people are not born with wisdom, and having too much knowledge without wisdom is dangerous. No one should have knowledge without wisdom, or the power to use knowledge without wisdom. And when the wisdom comes in time, and it comes through the experiences. And I personally think it sounds like all of us kind of sort of have sort of the same path, as far as we've learned a lot of wisdom from some of I'll say that our own drifting, right? Because caution was mentioned too, which, like non-drifters are not cautious. And then, he went to explain that analyzing something is not being overcautious, because he also mentioned that wasn't good as well. I got tons, man. I could talk for 3 hours just on this chapter, but I'll let it off there. 2 minutes, you said? Hopefully that was enough.
Cheers, George. Yeah, we could all talk. I think every chapter has so much, and I know that it's been brought up a couple of times in regards to the book that there's a lot of repetition throughout of it, which is just basically making sure it's cemented in so we don't miss it in a lot of cases. But when it really comes down to it, I mean, the hypnotic rhythm is spoken of so many times throughout that book, especially when you get to that chapter afterwards. It's just continuously brought in. And I think that's been a powerful one for us all to be aware of and reflecting on that. How are we doing it? So all good, Ricky. One of the things that I just wanted to touch on was around NG and questions that have been coming up. So you're more than welcome to ask any questions. But one of the things that I've been looking at doing is, how can I be of better service to the people I'm bringing into Noble Goldman, the people who are being paid forward? And the way that I've made the decision to do it is by giving away a free hour call. And I've worded it as in giving away is because it's me choosing to give my time and expertise for an hour to somebody else to find out where they are, why they're wanting to be a Noble Goldman, why they chose to become a Gold Star member, what it is that they feel I can be of service to. So this has been inspired in particularly by Corey, Corey, Tony, and Lisa, because of calls that I had with them earlier on, before I was even aware of this. And what's come of it is clarity for them to see why this community right here, why Noble Goldman is of value. And when we look at the bigger picture, the whole focus of this is to empower each of us to step up as leaders, to step up as people in the community, because we only succeed in Noble Goldman based on who we become, our actions that we're taking, the influence that we're making within the community. So Noble Goldman right now is not built to deliver the whole vision, but what it is built for is for us to attract the right people into the community. Therefore, and everything else from that, the cash flow, the MSIs, only work based on the people we bring into the community. So there's no point us talking about what's not here. What we're talking about is what can we do to make this come to fruition, to actually bring us the results that we desire. Therefore, my focus is to make sure that I'm clear on everybody who's a Gold Star member with me. I am clear what they want to do, where they want to go, how I can be of service to them. And that means then that if I'm showing them that and I'm leading that way, and they're like, wow, I really like this, I'm being heard, I know how to move forward, what do you think that's going to do to maybe help them? Not only within Noble Goldman, but if that's the system that I've created, what am I going to say to them? Do the system, follow the system. When your people come through, spend an hour with them, find out where they want to go, find out who they are. Do you know what? Noble Goldman might not be for them. Maybe just the masterminds are all that they want. Corey right now, all he wants is the masterminds. I'm loving the masterminds, the connection, the growth that I'm personally getting. So finding that out is an important part to know how to be of service to those people in the team. And then I know also how to communicate with those people based on what their goals are. Now, one of the things Melanie has just booked in, so I sorted out my booking thing. I went and spent some time, put that together. And in the booking confirmation, there's 5 questions that are asked. And in that confirmation, it also says, if you've not put in your goals, you need to do that before you get on the call with me, because I'm going to ask you what your goals are. Because if we're not accessing the accountability, the abundance game, we're missing the most valuable part of bringing people in. Because that's the tool. That right there is the ticket to helping people, and not and ourselves, but helping people come in and see the value of Noble Goldman for free. Like, if people aren't willing, even the people who are Gold Star members, if we're not willing to come in and activate the abundance game, we're missing the most key part of it, because we're not saying what to the universe, what our goals are. We're not checking in every single day in regards to the action we're taking towards those goals. And therefore, what are we achieving? In all fairness, we're just drifting. And that's why, obviously, I had a bit of time where I was a bit all over the place when Bessie passed, and I was going through the motions with stuff. But now it's really, I'm starting to come back in and see, and it's been inspired through these masterminds. Hey, I need to make sure I'm stepping up and I'm supporting as best I can, especially because one of my goals at the end of this year, certainly in January, is to be off tour in Australia, out of service. Therefore, the time I have is very limited. So if I'm creating a culture within the people, certainly that I have influence with, that this is the way that I do it, this is what I've created that you all can leverage. And if questions are being asked, when I know those answers are in the videos that Mark's created or a video walkthrough that I've created, do you know what my answer will be? I've already created it for you. It's already in the document. It's already in the video. And if we're not willing to respect that time that Mark's taken or somebody else has taken or I've taken, then are we truly going to succeed? You know, so there's some of the things that I've chosen to take action on, and it's not me directing anything at anyone or anyone who's not on this call. It's a case of looking at it and going, how can we become better? Because I know that really what Melanie had said before as well, I know that I don't speak the same language as some people. Speak English and they understand English, but we may as well be having 2 different conversations, or I may be speaking in a different language. For me, I don't want to read anything. I want to watch a video. Some people would rather read, Beth would rather read than watch a video. So I understand then that whatever I've got to do is step up and create a written document and also do a video. That's what I'm choosing to do. Now, to write a document is challenging for me because I don't enjoy it. But I'm confident that Melanie likes a written document. So I'm going in my head, if I want Melanie to succeed based on what I can bring value to Melanie, I need to spend some time writing a document. And it may not be the perfect document that Melanie wants, but at the same time, Melanie can take that and she could probably come back and say, hey, Martin, based on what I know now, I'm being on a few of the calls and watching your video, even though I didn't really want to sit there and watch the video. Do you mind if I edit the document and create something that's going to be suited for those people? Fantastic. Because now it goes back to what we just said in regards to the people around us. We're working together for a common cause. Does this make sense? So that's where I've just been looking at it, because in all fairness, and I've stated this so many times, Noble Goldman does not succeed based on what the vision is for it without us building teams of people who are like-minded, who are on this journey together. And the reason that we all have the ability to bring in the people that we want. We're not leading with the money because the money isn't there. We're leading with, do you value personal development? Do you want to make an impact in the lives of other people? Do you want to be surrounded by people who are moving forward, being respectful? And do you want to be part of something that is, from a visionary status, going to impact the level of consciousness around the world and create multiple streams of income? Do any of them fit with you? Step into this and have a look. Like that's literally it. And because it's free, The abundance game gives us the angle there. So I know when I go into my back office and I look down, if people haven't put their picture on the profile, are they really an action taker? Because the first thing of connection is what? What happens when someone's on a Zoom call and all you see is the name on the thing and you don't see the picture or even a photograph like Cheryl has? Is the connection there, or is it just a name? There's so much that's important as a part of the experience, not just for us, but if we want to bring people into Noble Goldman or into any way that we're going to have a circle of influence, think of it as an outsider. If you came in and there was nothing, there was no picture of the person and they hadn't put any details in, there was nothing encouraging them to connect with you, how would you feel? These are important factors, in my opinion. I can only speak on my behalf. These are important factors of, has this person taken the time? They expect me to do it. It's part of the process, but they haven't done it. Is that leadership? How could I expect anybody else to come on and take the time to come onto Russ's calls with his program when I haven't even, like, I've let other things in my calendar get in the way than showing up every Saturday? Like, that's not leadership in regards to me promoting Russ's value. Even though Russ, like, we're all equal. Russ to me is like a bloody big shining bright light. I have so much admiration for Russ. You know, with what he asked me at the beginning, I was just blown away. I almost didn't know what to say, but I knew I had to say yes. But at the same time, it's that thing of, what are we doing from a leadership point? And we're only going to do what resonates with us. Ricky with another business, like Ricky's shining in this other business because it resonates with him and he's leading there. He's leading better than I've seen him lead. And he's in another business that we're in together. And he doesn't lead like that in that other business, but he's flying with what he's doing now because it resonates with him and therefore people are being attracted to it. And I truly see NG being the tool. This is for me. You can't speak on anybody else's half, but we're here for a reason. There's no coincidence that we're here for a reason. And it's all going to come to fruition. But right now is the key time to be looking at what can we do as individuals to create the energy that we want in our team in Noble Goldman.
Can I share something, Martin? It's similar to what you're talking about, but it would be more about the power of Noble Goldman. I'm a coach, a business coach by profession, and I have a client right now that came to me with an opportunity. I won't say which one it is, but it came to me with an opportunity for a business that I resonate with. And my sponsor, maybe a week later, came to me with the same opportunity. And now I kind of weighed the opportunities like this. Okay, well, this guy was coaching with me. He's not now. If I jumped on his, opportunity, he may or may not coach, like have me as his coach. Okay. And then I thought about Noble Goldman, and I thought about the morals, the values, the structure, and I signed up through my my sponsor. I'm not going to get into the whole bunch of the other details about it, but anyway, I signed up with my sponsor for it instead of the other guy, based upon Noble Goldman. And that was it, just straight, because after I thought about it, it was a no-brainer. It's like these people in Noble Goldman, like the true ones, like, again, like you said, there's people that don't even put their picture, but the ones that really try, they do care about them, like the other people who are there. So that was it. It was a no-brainer. It's like, okay, done. I'll sign up there. Finished. I just wanted to share it in case somebody else had a similar experience.
Yeah, and that's totally get it, George, and well done, because that's the way that I've looked at it. I've actually I've been approached by a few other things and gone, do you know what? That's already a Noble Goldman, and I'm going to stick to the same business model, the same lines, because I want us all to win in Noble Goldman together, rather than doing things externally. whatever's happened before Noble Goldman is in any businesses that I'm already in. But at the same time, some of them I'm looking at going, well, that person has not provided me with any level of value. They've never been there from a support angle. So I'll just open up another account in a company business name or whatever and start again. And I think that's the key. What is the level of support? Some people will view people as just a money object, and they'll tell you to be best friends, but when you're not earning any money, you're not doing the business, all of a sudden they're not interested. But when you are and there's success, then you're part of the group. So that's why for me, particularly in NG, I want to keep, Ricky's my sponsor. So Ricky's going to benefit from anything where I say, no, I'm keeping this in NG. I'm not going to join an account outside. If that company isn't in NG, I'm going to find a way to get it in NG if it aligns with me, knowing that I'm not here to just make money without anything that's going to be of a reward to us further on. I mean, we had a great call before around all that stuff, but keep everything in NG is my attitude towards the way that I'm doing things. I know, Melanie, you just said about uploading your photos. Sometimes when we're using the software, what I found is we've got to refresh the page, and then it just reactivates it and resets it. There's a lot of back-end data or data in that software, and sometimes it just needs refreshing.
Martin, sorry to butt in. Would you mind if Russ maybe gave a quick 5 minutes now, because I'm conscious of time and I've got to
Well, I was
shoot
just
and-
going to say the recording's going to be in there to just watch the end of that with Russ's if you wanted, just while we're on NG. How long are you going to talk for, Russ?
I didn't have a set time. And I actually want to say something. So Ricky, if you have to go, it will be recorded. I wanted to say something preceding that. And I don't want anybody to feel like they can't go. So one thing I wanted to do, Martin, is acknowledge you for a moment, because when you were in the loo, I did say something that I have said before, but I want to emphasize it here. I'm about to launch my own mastermind group. And I had a meeting with Mark today and about 10 people that I invited to be a part of the beginning of the Noble Goldman Mastermind group of mine. Everyone here is invited to participate in that group. I'm going to continue to have a commitment to be here. Unless there's a direct conflict, which I don't believe there is, I'm going to continue to come here. What I wanted to tell you, Martin, is you've been an inspiration to me. And I do regard you as a coach, and I want you on something called a hot team. I'm going to invite you to be on my hot team. If you didn't see the last training, you might not know what that is, but it's something that you can decline. But you are someone that I've thought for a long time I wanted to be on my hot team. Now, what I wanted to say is I'm going to do this, and it's amazingly aligned, Martin, with what I believe what your commitments are as you've just stated them. I have a whole new perspective being on this team, on this mastermind group for the last 8 months than I did when I came into Noble Goldman originally. I've really learned an enormous amount from all of you and love the relationships. And I've said that before. The nature of my mastermind group may be a little bit different, but I don't think it's that far from really what Martin's doing. It's for people to have come to a mastermind with a purpose, and the purpose is their project, which they will state. And their project is really addressing those 4 things that I put out to people in training, which is what am I building? Who does it include? What does it provide? And why would somebody want to be a part of it? Now, that's the project defines that with conditions of satisfaction that are to be met. And the purpose of my mastermind group isn't for me to coach people on their projects. It's for everyone to coach everyone on their projects so they grow as a coach, and to have the generosity to make your project available and be at a request for coaching. So other people can look to see if they get it, and then you can get the support of that. And it was something that I'm making a part, and since they said I could pretty much do what I want, because my mastermind team, something that I'm going to try out is I'm going to put a limit, and it's not a hard and fast limit, but a limit on the amount of time to be in my mastermind group. And that time is 6 months, but we're going to make it 8 months for the first go round, since we've got November and December, which people are going to check out a lot on anyway. So the first round is 8 months. You say, well, what happens in 8 months? In 8 months, you start your own mastermind group. And that's a condition of satisfaction that I'm requesting you put in your project, that you have your own mastermind group and you are leading a mastermind team at the end of 6 months. And as I said, in the first case, 8 months. So I wanted to declare that tonight, and I'm requesting your support on this, and that if that support looks like you participating, fine. If you're not participating, it's not personal. I understand that. We all only have a limited amount of time, but I'm inviting you all. If I can support you, I love you dearly for what you've all given me so far. And I intend to remain with you here and also on my mastermind group. Now, that being said, about last weekend, or the weekend before last, actually, the return. Now, the return was an event that was organized by a man named Jonathan Kahn, and that's C-A-H-N, and Jonathan is spelled in the Jewish form without the H, like J-O-N. Jonathan Kahn. Jonathan is the author of a book called The Harbinger, and he's a Messianic Jew. And the purpose of the return was to gather Christians in Washington, D.C. and from around the world to pray for America, to pray for guidance, to ask God to bless the country and to return the country back to him. Now, I don't know what your political or religious affiliations are, and it doesn't really make a difference here. One of the reasons that I wanted to go there was the possibility of who I could meet, the possibility of my own spiritual connection, and how much of a patriot I am, how much I love my country, and how I'm in fear for her. And I went there, and it was amazing. First of all, it rained. It was raining like at Woodstock. It was raining on Friday night when it began. It went from 6 to 9. It was raining all day Saturday, off and on, with overcast skies. And on Friday night, I didn't know what to expect when I got there, but there was a perimeter, a fenced off perimeter. And inside the fenced off, there was limited seating that was socially distanced. And there was a huge stage like you'd see at a rock concert. And then on the inside of the perimeter, there were several tents, but mostly a media tent, a VIP tent, and things like, not very many, but like that. And outside the perimeter, as far as you could see, were people gathered outside the perimeter that came there. And there was big screens like you might have at a rock concert. I'd never quite seen or experienced anything like that. And I saw my friend Kevin Jessup. Now Kevin is a Christian minister and has in Florida, and he held it that I was a VIP for this event because several years ago, I invited him to give an invocation at an inaugural event for a company that I was president of called Wake Up America. And Kevin at that time met our keynote speaker, who's Dr. Ben Carson. I don't know if you all know who that is. Maybe you don't know who that is. But right now he's the secretary or the cabinet head of HUD here in the United States in Trump's cabinet. He's a wonderful man, amazing neurosurgeon, and the first neurosurgeon to separate Siamese twins at the brain, like having a connected brain, if you can imagine. But a brilliant, wonderful, kind man. Anyway, Kevin's relationship, this gets back to, it's all about relationships. Kevin's relationship with Ben grew way far beyond mine, whereas Kevin has an office on Pennsylvania Avenue and flies back and forth 3 times a month to meet with Ben. Kevin has invited me to be a part of a leadership development initiative called the Nehemiah Project to take business opportunities into the inner cities across the United States. And he invited me there because out of that initial meeting with Ben that happened some 6 years ago, they've grown a relationship that is very, very strong and actually led to this event. So on Friday night, I went and sat outside with my umbrella in front of the stage, watching the speakers on large screen and directly in front of me, and didn't know really what to do from there. I went in the VIP tent and I met a few people, but when Kevin saw me sitting out front, he waved to me to come up to the stage. So I went behind and went up this metal stairway to get up and backstage, and I was invited to be there for the rest of the event. Now, probably the most powerful moment for me, and there were many, first of all, there was the people that I met. These are people that you would consider famous people. Many people said, "Did you get your picture taken with them?" And I said, no, I didn't. And the reason I didn't is I felt that that would actually cheapen the experience of being with them, especially under these conditions for several days. I didn't need to have a picture taken with them to prove to somebody that I met them. You know, I met them, I know them, I have their phone number. So no, I didn't do that. And some of the people that I met, you see on television, or you've seen in movies, or you know from the news, and these people were so warm and gracious and down to earth. And probably the most amazing moment came when Jonathan spoke for the first time on Saturday morning, about 11 o'clock. And he was giving what I think would qualify as a sermon, but he was talking about the return, what it meant, what he meant by it. He was talking about scripture. He was talking about returning the nation to God. And it's funny because 4 times he mentioned what God said in the Bible. And I'm not kidding. And I don't believe in coincidences. Each time he mentioned the name of God, and this was the only time it happened, there was rolling thunder. And not as an acoustic effect. There was no lightning, but there was rolling thunder out on the square. And as far as I could see from backstage, all the way back to the Washington Monument, I have no idea what distance that is. There were tens of thousands of people there. There was 40 million people live streaming, 40 million live streaming on Friday night and Saturday. So many by the end of Saturday night, it crashed the site. Now, when Jonathan was speaking, I already told you about the thunder, which was amazing. And on the 4th time, everybody heard it, but no, it's almost like, are you kidding me? But the 4th time it happened, Jonathan said, and the voice of God is like that of thunder. And then everybody, of course, acknowledged it and got it. But the most moving time that occurred for me, and I was sitting next to, I won't mention his name for now, but because I don't want to like name drop, but a multi-billionaire, a man, an investment banker who brokered the sale of Fox News, who is now dating a woman who is a prominent newscaster on Fox. And they were sitting next to me. And Jonathan said, look, I don't know how this is going to hit you, but I want you to know nobody has to do this. I just feel moved to ask it or to say it. He said, some of you, don't want to get your clothes dirty, and that will certainly happen in the rain and the mud. He said, some of you might not physically be able to do this, but I'm going to kneel. And as I watched, thousands of people got down on their knees in the rain. The people backstage, everyone got down on their knees and prayed. And it was a very, very powerful thing to see and be there for. And so that was just one of many moving moments, but it's one that I'll never forget. It's one that I felt privileged to be there for and participate in. And to see everyone connected in such a way and putting out such a phenomenal energy in the world. It's just something I can't describe. And I couldn't wait to share that with you. And I came away with it, with Kevin honoring me with probably the greatest thing I ever could have been honored with. But he came to me with his professional photographer and he said, can I take my picture with you? I said, yeah, man, of course. And the photographer took our picture and he said, Russ, he said, I want your permission. He said, we're creating a souvenir program for this event. And he said, I want to put the picture in there. And beneath it, I want to say, without the faith and generosity of this man, this event never would have taken place. So that's how the return was. Anyway, thank you for letting me share that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Russ. God bless you, mate. That was awesome. Thank you. I know you don't look in the chat, so we've got thank you for sharing, Russ. Wow, Russ, big heart.
Russ, I just got some dust in my eye there. I couldn't speak.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, mate. That's awesome and well deserved as well. So, but also important for, as you said, raising the energy around the world. Certainly at these times and what everyone's been, or what a lot of people have been going through throughout 2020 and beyond.
40 million people. Can you imagine? I mean, it's like, are you kidding me? 40 million. They said they estimated 250,000 ministries from around the world.
Wow.
Just incredible. Makes me feel pretty small, you know, pretty small.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Russ. Obviously, we've gone over the hour mark, which is perfectly fine. We don't have any attachments at the time. But is there anything coming up for anybody that they just want to touch on before we wrap up this week's Gold Star call? Anything around NG you need any clarity on, or no? All good. Right. Well, go and have yourselves a tremendous day wherever you are in the world, evening, day, whatever it may be. And I will upload the recording of this into the private chat group. Cheryl?
Yep.
There's Cheryl.
Sorry.
Mistake. Fiona, you're muted. Did you want to say something? Yeah.
What are we doing next week then?
So good. Well said, Fiona. So going to dive into the universal laws. So the goal is going to be to basically go through a goal a week. A universal law a week, but I may change that to a longer period. So the focus is for us to come and figure out what the law is actually about and break it down so we can understand it. And more importantly, how we're going to be implementing it and how we are implementing it and what we've noticed through that change. So that's been something, a goal of mine for a long time now. And for me personally, I feel it's the time for me to step up and start actually implementing the universal laws, knowingly, consciously implementing them. So I want to understand every single one of them. So when somebody asks me, I want to be able to explain it. So in fact, I'm going to be able to explain it. So that's everyone I'm listening to who I admire and is successful based on my judgment of success for them. Certainly one name in particular, Bob Proctor, and all he does is talk around the laws of the universal laws, and stop wasting your time with all this other stuff. Just be implementing the universal laws. And it's really, really hit me hard. So I'm going to be diving in, and I thought, well, we'll bring it to the group. Those of us who want to do it, fantastic. If we're all doing it together, there's certainly going to be a higher vibration. There's going to be bigger shifts. We're going to be bringing in our own sides of what we're learning from each law, our own experiences, and then therefore we're all going to be growing together, which will be absolutely epic. And that's just going to overflow outside of this call and this group. And just on with what Russ had said before, and what Russ is choosing to do, which I think is fantastic, and in all fairness, is the model of Noble Goldman that, when you think of Ricky's brought 12 gold stars or whatever it is now together, the idea is we break off and we create our own 12. We create our own round tables. That's the whole model. That's our teams. There's no expectation when you should do it, how to do it. There's guidelines in regards to helping people understand it. But the thing that I would say is stay plugged in where you can. So for instance, I would, like if Ricky was running his own mastermind, I'd remain plugged into Ricky's, but I'd have my own mastermind. And each one of them can go off and create their own, but they can stay in. And what we're doing is we're learning together, and that's overflowing throughout everyone. Because if you imagine, if we had 100 people on this call, let's say from down in Ricky's downline, we wouldn't be getting through much on a call. There'd be a lot, we wouldn't really be masterminding, we wouldn't be covering stuff. So the power is keeping it ideally to 12, but we grow and we evolve on there. So I'm not saying, Melanie, this time next week, I expect you to have your own mastermind. But the other thing to be aware of is that some people are already doing this. They're not even aware of it. They've already got the group. So we can plug it in and just create it to more of a structured topic, or whatever it would be. Maybe it's going to be more around team building or leadership or a book that we know, or the universal laws, whatever it would be. But some people out there are already doing this kind of thing. So they can just plug into Noble Goldman or this kind of model. They don't even need to call it Noble Goldman Masterminding. Call it whatever they want. But the model is we're duplicating to create teams, which then, as we know, create the desired success based on the relationships, the personal growth, then the income streams start being created via the cash flow and MSIs later on. So just wanted to clarify that. Anything else?
Question? Just the universal laws. I've seen lots of different versions of them over the years. Who's are you going to reference?
So in the training, I believe it's level 4 in Noble Goldman, your back office. If you go down to video 11 from memory, in fact, I'll show you all so you know where I'm going to be going. So in your training in the back office as a gold star, sorry, this is a bit slow. Once you go in, and then you come on the left-hand side and you go down to your scorecards. So there's basically the target down to training. Click on that. And then if you come to level 4, it's got here the 11 Forgotten Laws by Bob Proctor, 4.05. That's what we're going to be covering on the. So what each one of the laws, I've been on different things with it, like there's 88 universal laws, there's 5 universal laws. We're just going to stick with what's in the system, and then what we'll do is we will get one of the laws and we'll go off and research it from whoever's explaining whatever they're explaining. We're going to find what resonates with us, we're going to bring it to the table, and we're going to share it in regards to helping each other grow.
Aaron, would you mind putting that in the group and the page and stuff, so that anyone who's got time and wants to can go and start doing a wee bit of research in advance of next week and the week beyond?
In the chat we've got, mate.
Yeah, just in the chat, but also maybe in the Facebook group as well, just so we can start doing a bit of nose diving into it.
Yeah, I'll do a post on that.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
Just before we
thanks for letting me know.
Well, could Russ, if we're invited to your group as well, could you let us know what the time slots are in?
I will. I haven't determined it yet, and to be quite honest, I haven't incorporated Australia into my first group for the first time, so I got to try to figure that one out. But yes, of course I will, Tony. Of course, I'm going to make everybody get up, at a very awkward hour. And
awesome. Just made a note of that task. Right. Go and have yourselves, once again, a fantastic day. Melanie, I believe I'm speaking to you later on. And yeah, look forward to connecting with you all soon. Remember, share your 3 big takeaways in the group, and I'll get on with posting about our next task. Looking forward to it. Take care, everybody.
Thank you,
and thank
everybody.
you once again for such a great call.
Thank you, everyone. Have an awesome week, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks.
Bye.